yeah. That's where Chutz the Schmack that's the Scheiße Mein mit Smoy. Chutz the okay. Partially Balshemski. Okay. 1 minute. We're going to start. Shmuel Dahan in California. You want to put on your camera?
Yeah.
Your camera is not on.
Okay.
Beautiful. Shmuley, do I have to put on the got it? Do I have to press now, or I have something? Who's Yaakov? Okay, Rabbi say time is money, right? And we always start on time. I know this is a smaller crowd. I'll tell you the truth. We had a program scheduled with really knockout theme and a knockout group of people. The reason I didn't promote it as much is I didn't want to get embarrassed because some people didn't send in what they were supposed to. So I'll tell you what the program was scheduled to be. We have a Kinus Torah every Yom Tif, and once we had doctors in halacha, once we had lawyers in halacha, once we had shluchim in halacha. This time, because it was simcha, it's Sukkos, I decided we'll do simcha b'halacha. And Baruch Hashem, I have many students who are professional singers, so I figured we'll do simcha in avodas Hashem, and some of the singers will actually tell us their hands-on simcha in avodas Hashem. So we have a mashpia Rav Rabbi Garari from Pomona. Who's well known as Shiurim and Chassidus, can give us the Chassidus insight in simcha and avodas Hashem. There was a Breslov Rosh Yeshiva who I'm very close with. He told me that he was going to honor us with a small shir, but he has never sent in his shir yet. So that's why I didn't want. I was afraid if I publicize it heavy, people are going to come for him. And then from the 3 singers that I have, Eli Marcus, who's my student, and Zisha, Chaya Goldschmidt, and Benny Friedman. Each one of them has a concert today. 2 of them sent in their class. And Shmuley, the big maven over there, is going to post their class. And usually we have 20, 30 people. Today will be a more tamachzik of some ruba. Yitzchak, you're sitting in your sukkah in Virginia? Lucky you, you're sitting. Okay, Rabbi Garari, let me tell you who you have here. You have Rabbi Shmuley Litzman, who's one of the administrators. He also got Smicha from Smicha, and he's in a shliach in Kentucky. We have Yitzchak Shonen is in Virginia. We have Moshe Gottman in New Jersey, Shmuel Dahan in California, Moshe Sebian is in France. Yaakov is in Rhode Island. Shmuel Pfeffer, your camera is not on. He is in Colorado. And I'm like a good Lubavitch program. We're going to have a bunch of people fall in as we go. Okay, I don't want to. I know we want to get to the point. The theme of this year's Kinus, this Yom Tov's Kinus Torah is Zman Simchasenu. That's how we categorize our Yom Tov today. Ilan is from London. So if you want to know, we are the United Nations. I have a lot of talmidim from Australia also, by the way.
Wow.
You know, do you know Isaac Balbin from Melbourne?
He's my brother-in-law's mechutin somehow. I forget now.
Isaac Balbin got smicha with me.
Oh wow!
just lately. Anyways, the bottom line is in davening we categorize this season as man simchasenu. One of the reasons, the simple reason is because it's also Chag HaAsif. It's when you bring all the crops in and you're proud of yourself. But being proud is misnagdish. That's not why we're happy. What is this happiness all about? And the truth is, I want to ask Rabbi Garari, maybe not to focus so much on the Sukkos happiness. Rabbi Garari, explain why simcha is such a fundamental theme or avodah that every yid has to have. If there was Hashem b'simcha, of course we know in Tanya says that if it's a person who is depressed, usually falls, is not able. But what does Chassidus say about simcha and how important it is? Pesach Nussbaum from Montreal, I think he's actually now up in Muncie here. Pesach, put on your camera. All right? Without any further ado, Rabbi Moshe Garari, Mashpia the Rav in Pomona, New York.
Thank you, Rabbi Willem. First of all, I just want to be, like they say, Pesach Mekvei Achsanya. We start with the honor of the Achsanya, of the host. So it's been a great pleasure for us here in Pomona to have this recent, very special addition to our Kehillah, Rabbi Willem. Not just any other addition. So I'm sure you guys know better than me. You've been listening to Shiurim, on a regular basis. But Baruch Hashem, it's really been something special for us. So, but getting to the point of simcha, so Rabbi Willem said that he wants that I should explain why simcha is such an important part of Avodas Hashem. So actually, excuse me. Actually, there's a vart that has to do with Sukkos, actually, and that really connects to this concept and this theme also. There's a famous medrash. The medrash says, it says in the pasuk, "Lakachtem lechem b'yom harishon." One should go and take a lulav and esrog b'yom harishon on the first day. So the medrash says, "Yechidishenu." Is it the first day that we take the lulav and esrog? It's b'chamisha asar. The lulav and esrog is something that we take on the 15th day of the month, not on the first day of the month. So why would the pasuk say that we should take the lulav and esrog on the first day? So the medrash famously says that it's rishonu la'aveinos. It's the beginning. It's the first day of sin. What does it mean? It's the first day of the sins, because during the Aseres Yimei Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, everyone does tshuva. They start with a clean slate. And then it comes the days between Yom Kippur and Sukkos. Zeh Eisik b'Sukkoseh, v'zeh Eisik b'Lulaveh. Everyone's busy. Everyone's busy with their sukkah or with their lulav, and there's no time to do avedis. No one has any time. This one's building a sukkah. This one's choosing a lulav, an esrog. Everyone is too caught up with their mitzvahs. So no one's doing Avedis. Yom Harishon, suddenly it comes the first day of Sukkos. That's the first day that people start to sin. That's what the Medrash says. So there's an obvious question here. Many people ask, if the days between Yom Kippur and Sukkos, when people are busy preparing the sukkah and the lulav, they're just busy building a sukkah, and they're busy choosing a lulav, choosing an esrog. If that being busy with choosing and preparing the sukkah and lulav is enough to deter a person from sinning and for doing any avedis, so how much more so when a person is actually doing those mitzvahs, when it starts sukkahs and he actually goes into the sukkah and he actually shakes the lulav, especially if he's busy with miftzayim and he's busy finding other people to shake lulav and esrog with. I mean, how much more so we should say definitely then he's not going to be doing any avedis, he's not going to be sinning. So why would we say that while the person is preparing everything, he's preparing the sukkah, preparing the lulav, then he's on this great level, this great madrega that he doesn't sin, whereas once he actually starts to do the mitzvah, then he's already rishon la'avenis, then he's actually starting to do avedis. That seems to be very odd. So I heard once a vart that Chassidim say that from here you learn that the hechsher mitzvah means the preparing for a mitzvah is even greater than the mitzvah itself to a certain extent. Why would the preparing for a mitzvah be greater than the mitzvah itself? The answer is very simple. The answer is that a person does a mitzvah, so he does a mitzvah. Why does he do the mitzvah? He understands that this is what Hashem says in the Torah. I don't really have much of a choice. This is the law. This is my duty. Finished, I got to do it. What should I do? Does he really necessarily connect to the mitzvah? Is he excited about the mitzvah? Does he feel it's something unbelievable? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity? No. He might even feel like, I wish I didn't have to do it. But this is what you got to do, so he does it. When someone puts effort in preparing a mitzvah properly, he gets involved in the preparations of the mitzvah. He doesn't just say, I'll just go to the store and quickly, the first lulav and esrog I see, I'll just pick it off the shelf and I'll buy it. He gets involved. He chooses a good lulav, a good esrog. He builds a sukkah himself. He doesn't just give it to someone else. He tries to do it himself, to at least a little bit. He tries to get involved in the preparation of the mitzvah. That shows that he's mechaviv, he's miyakid the mitzvah. The mitzvah is precious to him. He enjoys the mitzvah. He loves the mitzvah. He says, wow, this is an opportunity. I can get connected to Hashem. Like it says, mitzvah is safsa v'chibur. Mitzvah means connection to the Eibishter. So therefore, the preparation, when someone is involved in the preparation of a mitzvah, to a certain degree, there's something there that's more than the actual doing of the mitzvah itself. And on a similar vein is the idea of simcha. Simcha. So first of all, like Rabbi William just mentioned in short, simcha is very, very fundamental because it's someone who's not besimcha is going to end up not being in the right place. Like the Alter Rebbe famously says in the Tanya in Perek Chavav, he says, when you have a war of two people, and one of them is very strong, he might be very strong and stronger than the other one, and he might have better weapons than the other one. But if he's in a lazy and depressed mood, then the one that's weaker is going to overcome him. Because when someone is in a depressed mood, he just doesn't have chayis. He doesn't have the drive. He doesn't have what it takes to win a war. It's the same thing. There's a constant war between a person's nefesh lekis and his nefesh bahamis, between his animal soul and his godly soul. And even though the godly soul is definitely stronger in potential than the animal soul, it's a godly soul, it's a part of the Eibishter, it's a part of Hashem, but a person needs to be in a happy mode to be able to win that war. If he's going to be depressed, it's not going to work. So that's one thing, like Rabbi William just mentioned in short. But there's a deeper reason why simcha is so important, and that connects to what I was just saying before about the preparation for a mitzvah. It says in the Rambam in Hilchas Lulav, also connected to Sukkot. It says that the pasuk says, the pasuk says all sorts of terrible things that are going to happen to those who don't do the right thing. And the pasuk finishes off that all of this is happening because you didn't serve Hashem b'simcha v'tuv levav, with proper joy, right? So there's different ways of understanding the pasuk, but the way that Rambam explains it, and that Izal also goes with this explanation, is that the pasuk's trying to say, no, the issue wasn't that you weren't doing mitzvahs. The issue was that you weren't doing mitzvahs with simcha v'tuv levav. You weren't doing mitzvahs and you weren't getting involved. You weren't happy about the mitzvahs. You weren't enjoying the mitzvahs. You weren't excited about the mitzvah. When someone lacks simcha, when someone does a mitzvah and he lacks simcha, what that shows is that, yeah, he does the mitzvah, but he doesn't think it's an important thing. He doesn't think it's something unbelievable. It doesn't show that he doesn't think this is just amazing opportunity that Hashem gave me. If someone understands what a mitzvah is, then while he does the mitzvah, he's going to have a lot of simcha. He's going to be dancing of joy. It's what is this? Is an unbelievable thing that I have here. When someone lacks that simcha, that shows that he doesn't appreciate the mitzvah. And therefore, simcha, especially when it comes to Avodas Hashem, especially when it comes to doing a mitzvah, and so when a person learns Torah and does a mitzvah and has an opportunity to learn Torah and doesn't do a mitzvah, the simcha is really fundamental because that is really what expresses the fact that the Yid understands and appreciates what he has in front of him. Right? So that's
$1 million question, Rabbi Garari, is are you saying that the mitzvah of simcha is similar to the mitzvah of avas Hashem? You can't hold a gun to somebody and say love Hashem. How do you hold a gun to say be happy? Don't worry. So how do you get that happiness?
How do you get? Okay, very good. So that's number 2. Very good. Okay. So let's not talk about that, right? So what does a person do to become happy? So obviously, in this limited time that we have now, we're not going to cover, all of what it takes. It's one of those sugyas that are discussed in Chassidus at length. I mean, Tanya itself devotes quite a few prakim from Perek Chavav until Perek Lamed Daled, really, all about simcha and Chassidus and many other places. And now they have a whole book that they put together of Sichas of the Rebbe, all about simcha. So obviously it's a great discussion. But let's mention a few points. Actually, before I go to the next point, I just say, because I mentioned those prakim in Tanya, Perek Chavav till Perek Lamed Daled, I just want to mention Derech Agav. Like parenthetically, I want to mention just one geshmaka thing. I'm sure all of you over here have learned Tanya at least to some degree, right? So there's a famous perek in Tanya, which is Perek Lamed Beis, which might even arguably be the most famous perek in Tanya. Like the Rebbe says, it's Perek Lamed Beis because it's the leif. It's like the heart of Tanya. What does Perek Lamed Beis talk about? It talks about Avos Yisrael, about loving every single Jew, not just every Jew. Whether he's great, so to speak, he's a gadol, whether he's a katan, loving every single Jew. And the Alter Rebbe really explains how you could really love every Jew, and he should be kamoicha mamish. You should love him just like yourself. And it's a very famous perek in Tanya. But what people sometimes forget is that Perek Lamed Beis is actually part of the prakim of Tanya that talk about simcha. In other words, how does Perek Lamed Beis come into Tanya? How does it come in? How does it fit in over there in the context of what he's speaking about? So there was a Rabbi Weinberg, Olav Shalom, was a Rabbi Yossel Weinberg. He was a great. He might be like the Zayda of the online Smicha program, because the idea of giving shiurim, in a non-live format, he was one of the fathers of that. He used to give shiurim and Tanya on the radio back in the day. So Rabbi Weinberg would give shiurim and Tanya, and often he would give his notes to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe used to look them over, and the Rebbe used to give some insights into what he wrote. But when he came and prepared Perek Lamed Beis, so he said that the Alter Rebbe is coming over here to explain and to answer how is it possible that the Gemara says that Hillel said mitzvah of Avos Yisrael is the whole Torah, and everything else in the Torah is really just an explanation on this mitzvah, right? That's what it says in the Gemara. So the Alter Rebbe is coming to explain how is that possible? How can one say that the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael is like the whole Torah? All the other mitzvahs of the Torah have nothing to do with loving another fellow Jew. So how does that work? And in the Perek, the Alter Rebbe does address that question. But the Rebbe said the Alter Rebbe is not a pirush on Shas. Tanya is it's not a book that's coming here to explain different things that Chazal say that we need to understand. That's not what he's here for. So, of course, he does address that question, and it's true that he gives tremendous insight into that question. But that's not why the Perek is here. It's a very systematic book, Tanya. It's the Perek is here, said the Rebbe, for a very simple reason. That in the previous Perek, the Alter Rebbe said that when someone has true simcha is simcha of the nefesh halakis. He realizes the great potential that he has with his nefesh halakis, with his godly soul, how he could connect to Hashem. And his nefesh habahamis, no, he doesn't have to. He doesn't. In other words, a person can recognize my nefesh habahamis, my animal soul, is really nothing special and is really not great, and not just not great. It's really not in a good place, and he could. The Alter Rebbe explains in the period before that doesn't deter him from simcha. I'm not going to go into it now at length, but he explains it doesn't deter him from simcha because he could say, yes, I'm in not such a great place, but just because I'm not in such a good place, so every time I do a mitzvah, I'm really basically taking my nefesh halakis out of this really low nefesh habahamis. I'm really connecting my nefesh halakis with Hashem, despite it being enclosed in such a low nefesh habahamis. So the simcha is even greater when you realize how your nefesh habahamis is not in the right place. And wow, what I could do when I do a mitzvah and I connect to Hashem with my nefesh halakis. So, and then the Alter Rebbe continues in the next perek and says, if a person does that and he focuses on his nefesh halakis and he says, I'm excited about the fact that I can connect to Hashem, and I realize, no, my nefesh habahamis is not that great. I'm not the greatest. My nefesh habahamis, my animal soul is not the greatest. But look, because of that, that's even more of a reason to be excited when I do a mitzvah, because I'm connecting my nefesh halakis to Hashem. So that can bring him to true Avos Yisrael. Let's not get into it now. How he explains why that brings him to true Avos Yisrael, but that can bring him to true Avos Yisrael. Says the Rebbe, look what's happening over here. The Alter Rebbe is trying to bring out how important simcha is. And that's what he's trying to bring out, how important simcha is. Why? Because if you realize that only through simcha can you come to true Avos Yisrael, and Avos Yisrael, it says, is the central mitzvah, that all other mitzvahs are only an explanation on that mitzvah. So what does that show you? That shows you that simcha is the most fundamental mitzvah. Because without simcha, you can't have Avos Yisrael, and Avos Yisrael is the most important mitzvah in the Torah. So everyone always talks about Perek Lamed Beis Tanya, the lave of Tanya, Avos Yisrael, and that's true. Avos Yisrael is the most important mitzvah, but they forget that really the Alter Rebbe is actually just coming over here to stress the importance of simcha, how great simcha is, how important simcha is. Right? I'm sorry. So I think I went on a little bit on a tangent. I really should get back to what Rabbi Willem asked. How does someone taka come to simcha? What is the way that a person that comes to simcha? Right. So, like I said, that's a very loaded question. But let's just discuss one point. One important point is that we have to recognize that Hashem is the one that's in charge of this world. Now, that sounds like a very simple, cliche, line. Hashem is in charge of the world. But the question is, do we really think about that? And is this something that we put our minds to? And if we would put our minds to that, our struggles with atzvus and getting upset, and our struggle of trying to be besimcha, it wouldn't be that much of a struggle. Because Hashem, everything that Hashem does in this world is for the good. And a lot of times, if we would just stop to think about our own lives, and we would stop to think about something that seemed to be not so good, and we'll think about what happened afterwards and how it all really worked out, and it was all a great plan, what Hashem did. So that just changes our attitude. The problem is, this is something that we learn about, and it's something that we all know about, but do we actually spend time, from time to reflect on our own lives and to see how really Hashem made sure that things worked out for the good? If we would do that, that would really, really at least put us on the path towards simcha, because our attitude with every single individual struggle would be very, very different if we realize that really there's a greater plan here and Hashem is really helping us with these things that we think are struggles. So I just want to, going on that path, I just want to mention a very, very geschmack word from the Rebbe about this concept, about recognizing how everything Hashem does is for the good. There's two famous lines in the Gemara that I'm sure you've all heard. Two famous lines that discuss, that bring out this point that everything Hashem does is for the good. One is, Kol ma da'avid rachmana l'tav avid. Rabbi Akiva said this. He said, everything Hashem does is for the good. Kol ma da'avid rachmana, everything that Hashem does is for the good. L'tav avid, it's really for the good. Another famous line is that of Nachum Ish Gamzu. He was called Nachum Ish Gamzu because he was famous for saying, Gamzu l'taiva. This is also for the good. Gamzu l'taiva. So it seems like these two lines are just the same, really saying the same things, just in different words. But the Rebbe says, no, but look, they said it differently. There must be a reason why they said it differently. Everything Hashem does is for the good, or this is also for the good. There's also another difference. If you listen to the two lines, Rabbi Akiva said, he used an Aramaic expression. Those words, is Aramaic, it's not Hebrew. Nachum Ish Gamzu said, that's Hebrew, it's not Aramaic. So why the difference over here? So the Rebbe says like this: if we analyze the stories that are told about the two people, we'll understand the difference in the line that they used, and we'll also see how there's two attitudes in this idea, in this concept of recognizing Hashem does everything for the good. That itself is two levels and two attitudes, and both are important for us. So what are the two? In short, time is limited. I shouldn't extend my time, but just in short, the point is like this: that Rabbi Akiva, the famous story that the Gemara says is Rabbi Akiva came to a place. He was traveling, and he took a candle with him because he wanted to be able to see at night, to learn Torah. He took a candle with him. He took a chicken with him to be able to, like as an alarm clock, as a old-fashioned alarm clock. He had a donkey with him, and he came to a certain city, and he knocked on the door of the residence. No one wanted to let him in. No one wanted to let him sleep over there. So he said, everything Hashem does is for the good. Okay, he goes to the field and he makes himself a place to sleep in the field, in the forest that's outside of the city. And what happened? There was a wind came and blew out his candle. He said, everything Hashem does is for the good. An animal came in and ate his chicken. He said, everything Hashem does is for the good. His donkey died. He said, everything Hashem does is for the good. What ended up happening was that robbers came that night to the town where he wanted to sleep in, and they ended up killing the residents. And of course, had he had the candle, they would have found him in the forest, and had his chicken made noise, they would have found him. Had his donkey made noise, they would have found him. So everything Hashem did was for the good, right? That's the famous story about Rabbi Akiva. Then you have the famous story about Nachum Ish Gamzu, that he was supposed to be bringing a message to the king, supposed to be beseeching by the king to do something for the Jewish people, and he brought with him a chest of diamonds as a present for the king. And on the way, he stopped in a hotel or something, in a place of lodging, and at night someone stole all his diamonds and replaced the whole chest with sand. So he said, Gamzul Taiva, this is also for the good. And he went to the king, and he presented the king with his chest of sand. So of course the king was first furious, and the king went on to say, so the king was furious, and he really wanted to probably even kill Nachum Ish Gamzu, but the ministers over there said, no, king, listen, there's a story in the Torah about Avram Avinu, how he threw sand at his enemies and it was turned into arrows. So maybe this is, he's a descendant of Avram Avinu, he's a descendant of Avram, maybe he has this special sand, you can use this as weapons for your enemies. And they took it and they threw it at their enemies, and it turned out to be arrows. Hashem made a miracle. So of course the king was delighted. This is even a greater present than any diamonds, etc., that he had plenty of. And he was thrilled with Nachum Ish Gamzu, and of course he was nice to the Yidden and did everything Nachum Ish Gamzu asked him to do. So if you look at the two stories, there's a difference between the two stories. In Rabbi Akiva's story, something negative ended up happening. The fact is, he didn't have a good night. The fact is, he did not sleep in a nice place. He did not have a candle that night. He was in the dark alone. His donkey died. He didn't have how to get back. He obviously had to walk a long distance afterwards. He didn't have his chicken. Negative happened. Just that if you would compare this negative experience to what could have happened if the robbers would have found him, of course, anyone would be willing to not have a candle and not have a donkey and not have a chicken and not sleep in a nice place in order to stay alive. So, of course, what Hashem did for him was ultimately for the good. But something negative happened, just that negative experience was ultimately good because anyone would trade that negative experience for the far greater negative experience of, God forbid, having to die, right? So that's in the story of Rabbi Akiva. Whereas you go to the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, it's actually different. What happened with Nachum Ish Gamzu, nothing negative actually happened in the end. In the end, it was actually all positive. They took his diamonds out and they put sand in, but the sand was good. The sand was arrows. The sand was weapons. The sand was so much more precious than the diamonds. So in the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, it wasn't a negative experience that was so far, was so not insignificant to something so much greater, so something so much more negative. In the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, everything was actually turned out to be positive. So that explains the difference in the expressions. Rabbi Akiva said, everything Hashem does is for the good. It's ultimately for the good. Yes, it might be negative right now, but there's a greater plan here, and I'll end up seeing how everything is for the good. And that's why I used an Aramaic expression, because Aramaic is, as it explains in Kabbalah, Aramaic is not the same level of kedusha, of holiness, as Lashon Kodesh. So in the case of Rabbi Akiva, there still was, some negativity here. It wasn't Lashon Kodesh. There was some negativity here. But everything that Hashem does is ultimately for the good. Whereas Nachum Ish Gamzu, he used a Lashon Kodesh expression. He used the Hebrew expression because in his case, he saw how everything is good. It's not just that everything is ultimately for the good. Now, I just want to finish off, practically, right, what this is so mean to us, and that's what I'll leave you with. What this means to us is like this, that we sometimes learn in Chassidus great things, and we learn how everything Hashem does, even if it feels negative, he's really showing us great love, and he's shining us with great levels of godliness that can only be expressed in something that seems to be negative, and really it's ultimately really good. So we learn that, and we say, but I don't feel the good over here. All these lofty levels that it's talking about in Chassidus, this is not for me. I feel, I'm a pretty physical and materialistic person. I feel what a regular human being feels. So that's true. So a person has to recognize intellectually that, of course, Hashem is only positive and everything that Hashem does is really good and nothing is bad. But there's a Rabbi Akiva approach also. Even if you're not on the level of Nachum Ish Gamzu, there's something more that we can relate to. There's a Rabbi Akiva approach. Even if things seem not negative and they seem not good and they are not good. But that could be true. But if we sometimes stop to think about the greater picture and how things went over a course of a year, over a course of a month, over the course of a few years, and we see how Hashem made all these things work out, that true, I had to have something negative and it was negative, but in the greater picture, it turned out to be far better than something that could have been, had that negative experience not have happened, right? Then even us simple people can relate to that and can realize that Hashem is really guiding us. And when we realize that, it's our attitude towards life is a far more simchatic attitude than when we think things are just happening on their own and there's no greater hand over here guiding us in every single thing. So I think that's just the one lesson that we could all take to ourselves on Zman Simchasenu to try to encourage simcha. And of course, I should, Rabbi Willem, want to add something?
Yeah, I want to, Rabbi Grari, do you have somewhere, if anybody wants to listen to your Chassidish Shiurim, do you have anywhere where it's recorded, any site?
I have actually. There's a Tanya shir that that's recorded. I could share you later soon with a link of podcast.
I don't know sharing schmearing. If you want to give them the name or put it on, if it gets put on here somewhere, if they see it.
Let me see.
I think you guys would really enjoy his classes in Chassidus. Listen, I could be his father. I sit by his classes. He takes the deepest topics from Levi Yitzchak, the Rebbe's father, and he makes it sound. There was a mashpia here this Shabbos, who could also be his father, maybe his grandfather. When he finished speaking, he said, wow, he took the most lofty ideas and just made it simple. So I think you would enjoy listening to him. Rabbi Grari, you want to post where they can hear some of your classes? That would be nice.
Let me see if that's very kind of Rabbi Willem, but let me see if let me see what the link is. 1 second. I'll try to find it. I think it's, let me see how it works. I'm not so good at this.
Okay. Actually, Shmuley, we have one of the Rabbi Grari. Thank you very, very much. It was very, very nice.
Thank you, Rabbi Willem.
I want to tell you, this might sound a little not punktach, but as you're saying, if a person sees the end, people see the good. Maybe even chas v'shalom, you could say about this whole coronavirus. It's macht die ganze Welt mishugat, the whole world. We have Dr. Grossman here. I don't want to say something to get him upset, but you know how many people, the whole world changed. Now people don't have to travel, and people stay home and work. There is some good.
Something, yeah, absolutely.
Good. I mean, you can't. Lachman al-Tzlan, a lot of people got hurt, but a lot of people have seen benefit. I mean, I don't feel comfortable saying because a lot of people got hurt, but there is some silver lining before that. Rabbi Sai, we have a special guest, Rabbi Grari Yeshikayach, Benny Friedman, who's about to start a concert, just told me he's going to come on and say his Dvar Torah before his concert. You know, I think there was a Hira from the Rebbe to Avram Fried, which is his uncle, that every time before he starts a concert, he should give it tzedakah. And that's why he goes down to most of the concerts with a pushka and he gives tzedakah. I want to see, Benny Friedman just told me. Hold on. Benny, come on right now. Rabbi Garari just finished and we'll give you your time. Tell me if you're on. Okay? That's that. So just to be the fill-in, I want to tell you a beautiful word I saw this morning. Did you put your link for them to be able to see?
I put it on the chat. I hope that works, that link. I think so.
Okay, if you send it to me and you're going to say that I'm sharing a screen. You can't say that. No, he actually told me he's going to come on live. If he doesn't come on live, you'll share the screen. Okay. Okay, I'll tell you a good word I saw in Rabbi Garari Shul this morning from Reb Chaim Noah. We all know that the Torah asked the Shaila, why is it that Sukkos is in the winter and not the time when it really took place when we left Mitzrayim? We all know because if we would have sit in the huts in the Iyar time, it looks like we're just relaxing. You can't tell you're doing it for mitzvah. When you sit now and it's a little cold and chilly, you can tell that you're doing it for mitzvah. The Vilna Gaon has a different answer, but the Vilna Gaon's answer is that Anani HaKavod that came to us right after Mitzrayim was taken away from us by the Ma'aseh Ego. So the original time we got the Anani HaKavod didn't last. Only after Yom Kippur, Salachti Kidvarecha, the Anani HaKavod stayed forever. And that's why we celebrate it now. Reb Chaim Noah, it's not a Chassidish answer, but Reb Chaim Noah has a different answer. He says, we know Rashi and Chumash and the Medrash says that not everybody was protected by the Anani HaKavod. Amalek came and called on the Shalom Acharecha. There were people who weren't protected on Anani HaKavod. They were Rishoyim. So they had to fall aside, and that's who Amalek was able to grab. So when are we able, Reb Chaim Noah says, when are we able to celebrate Sukkot in a fashion that all Yidden are together and nobody is left out? Is only now. Why only now? Because we just went through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Yom Kippur. There are no Rishayim. If there are no Rishayim, the Anani HaKavod protects everybody. So everybody could be in the Sukkah. That's another reason why we do it right now, just a piece of information. Shmuley Litvin wants to say something for a minute, and I'll see if he's coming on. Shmuley?
So I'm just in charge of I'm just in charge of PR here. For everyone on the camera, we have 17 people. I only have 12 cameras. If everyone can come on camera for a second, we can take a nice picture for Raiva and Bahad Shmela.
1 second. Let's see if I get Benny on here. He just wondering something.
Benny just came on.
Okay, so Benny's on. Benny, we made a special pause for you. Where is he? Let me see. Where is he on?
Hello?
Yeah, Benny, what's this Purim Shpil, Purim Yarmulke? Okay, anyways, Rabbi Sai, it's Zman Simcha Seinu. A minute ago, Rabbi Garari just finished this year. Zman Simcha Seinu. You can even see that he's in his dressing room. I know my kids are running because Benny Friedman is making a concert in Flotzenblatt somewhere. So see a dressing room. He has a concert going on. Simcha is in his blood. Benny, please tell us something about to enhance, what enhances you, what makes you freilich, what gives you the koyach to make other people freilich.
L'chaim, thank you very much, Rabbi Wilhelm. Thank you for inviting me. Much appreciated. Baruch Hashem, we're having a very, very busy, simcha-filled Yom Tov thus far, traveling from here to there and from there to here and back. And just trying as best we can to fill the world with simcha and to add simcha around us. So just very quickly, I just wanted to say something about the simcha, the mitzvah of being besimcha on Yom Tov. All the poskim, the Rishonim and the Achronim discuss the simcha of Yom Tov. And they talk about whether it is midairaisa today, when we don't have the korban of Yom Tov, whether it's midrabanon only, or whether it's deiraisa. There are large and deep and wide and broad discussions about the simcha of Yom Tov, and exactly how one is meant to fulfill the mitzvah, and where and when, and but the point of it all is that the tremendous mitzvah of this Yom Tov and different from shaking a lulav or the daled minim, and different from sitting in the sukkah, which is a mitzvah that you shake the lulav, you make a bracha on it once, and then you use it also during the Hallel and the Shinus, and then you put it down and you go on with your life. But the mitzvah of simcha on Yom Tov is a mitzvah that is upon us for the entirety of the Yom Tov, from the beginning of Yom Tov until the very end. Every single moment we have upon us a special mitzvah, not just regular. We have a mitzvah to be b'simcha tomid. On Yom Tov is an even additional mitzvah where we do everything in our power to add and to increase in our own simcha and in the simcha of those around us and of those that we are responsible for. And we try as best we can to push away and ignore anything that, God forbid, can affect our simcha in any way. And that's why it's a special mitzvah to drink wine on Yom Tov. And Shulchan Aruch outlines that for a man, he should drink wine, and he should eat meat, and he should eat kol minei matamim, and he should buy his wife beautiful clothing, colorful clothing. I actually have an aunt, Mrs. Gordon in California, who matches the right colors to the right people. If you go to her, you get colors. And the Rebbe, when she went by the Rebbe said should be matzliach with flying colors. You know, like a shout out to what it says in Shulchan Aruch that generally speaking, for women, colorful clothing, especially colors that match their personality, it adds tremendous simcha. So for sure to buy clothing for the wife, and jewelry and shoes, and for children, sweet candies and nuts. And the idea is that the simcha on Yom Tov is for each person tailor-made to what brings them simcha, because it is extremely important to be besimcha on this Yom Tov. It is extremely important, and it is extremely personal. You should do what brings you more simcha. And if drinking wine brings you simcha, you should drink. If drinking wine does not bring you simcha, you shall not drink. And if whatever it is, you need to make sure to do things that add in simcha, not just a wilde simcha, not just to put on a funny hat for no reason, but it should be a simcha, like we say, simchu b'Hashem. It should be a simcha in this idea, the fact that we are coming closer to Hashem, and we are celebrating Hashem's love for us, and we are celebrating our love for one another. A holy simcha. And that includes as well singing and dancing. And the holy tzaddikim would make sure to sing at the Sudas Yom Tov, because singing adds in simcha as well. So I'm running out of time. I got to go soon, but I just want to take a special opportunity right now to thank Rabbi Willem for putting this together. And I also want to bless all of you with the power vested in me by my grandfather, Aaron HaKoyen, with the bracha of Kohanim. Hashem should bless you all in everything, and especially today, with the ability to be besimcha 24 hours a day. Every moment, Hashem should take away any possible obstacle, God forbid, that would exist to take away some simcha. Chas v'shalom should only have good news, happy news, brotherly love, Avas Yisrael, and we should all be zoichet to have the greatest simcha ever with the coming of Mashiach, when we will all sit in one gigantic big sukkah, like one big happy family, and we will sit and learn Torah by the Rosh Yeshiva a whole day and a whole night.
Amen. Benny, I know, I'm very impressed how relaxed you are in front of you. You're up in less than an hour, right? But I'm going to tell you a lyrics question in song. Are you going to sing? Are you singing this? One of them you're going to sing, right?
Probably.
Okay, I heard a Rosh Yeshiva, a Muslim Rosh Yeshiva. I forgot who it was. It's not from this generation. He heard about that song. Sameach. He said, "What's up, man? Why do they fetch the ach?" He says it's a halacha. The halacha says every time it says ach or rak in the Torah, it's a miyut. It's coming to exclude. So if you read V'hayisa ach sameach, you would think you have to stop. You don't always have to be happy. It's a miyut. But when you have miyut achar miyut, when the Torah says two miyutim, it's lerabos. So that's why they sing ach sameach. But the problem is, our Lubavitcher tune doesn't sing it that way. How do we sing it? Why? Because by us, we don't have any miyutim. We go straight above. We don't have to do the ach. We go right above. Anyways, I
heard last night someone told me that if you're besimcha on Yom Tov, it blesses you for the whole year. Like we say, v'somachto b'chagecha.
And then v'yisach
someach.
Yeah, amen. Okay, be matzliach. Okay, Shekaya, thank you very, very much. Be matzliach.
Amen.
Okay, Reb Shmuel. First of all, that was Reb Benny Friedman. As I said, he's a couple minutes away from performing at a concert. He should have Atzlacha Rabbah. And now, Moshe Cohen, are you available for a 2-minute song? Moshe Cohen has a shmichik. He's going to play maybe Ativ Chatanu. Are you there? If not, if he's not ready yet, let's put on either Zisha, Zechariah Goldschmidt, who's another. By the way, Benny is a student of mine when he was a little kid. How about Shmuley? Put on whoever else you want to put on first, and we'll move along. We have two shorts here. Zechariah Goldschmidt is from the Zisha band. Who's coming up? Yeah.
Shalom Aleichem. Wishing everyone a freilichen. To all our online Smicha Chevra watching from around the world. Shemamish feel the joy of Sukkos. Anyway, I was thinking that Mamish, one of the strangest customs that we have as Jews is something called Sheva Brachos. Sheva Brachos. Right after you get married, months and months of planning, stress, and every caterers and everything that's going on. You finally get the wedding. You finally dance your face off. And then what's the next thing that happens? The next 7 days, you're going out every night. I don't know about the chevra that's watching, but for me, after my wedding, all I wanted to do was just sit at home, be present with my wife. Finally, after months and months and dating, and I just wanted to be present. I just wanted to be home and relax, and all the craziness, it's over. But no, Hashem has given us this thing called Sheva Brachos, which is the idea that after you get married, you go out for 7 meals. You go around town to your neighbors, to this guy, to that guy, and mamish. And not only that, but you need people that panim chadashos. You need people that weren't at the wedding. You need people that you don't really want to see. You haven't seen them in a while, so obviously. But these are people that. But nevertheless, Hashem is pushing us to go out. I was thinking that, the other night I was eyeing this rugelach. Such a delicious looking rugelach. And I was about to eat it, and I'm like, I must have to go outside in the sukkah. It's wet, it's a little wet, and outside, and here I'm in my pajamas, and I just want to go sit on the couch and eat a rugelach. But no, for this whole week, mamish, 7 days of blessing. Mamash, Hashem is telling us to go outside. Go outside of your house. Go outside to the tachlis. Something that's interesting to note is that Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then Sukkos. Sukkos is almost like this is the last thing that we're left with. This last holiday that we have for some time now, and it's almost like this is what we've been building up to. This idea of Sukkos, which is the same thing as Shavuot Brachos. The tachlis of life, I think this is what we're trying to say. The tachlis is not to be sitting on the couch eating a ruglach. The tachlis is not to be, after your wedding, to sit at home and enjoy your life, and it's just you and your wife, and the world doesn't exist. Hashem is teaching us that mamish, after we become so pure from Yom Kippur, after we clean ourselves and we're like the holiest that we've been, we're so clean from Avanos. Hashem is telling us, no, I don't want you to sit inside and be by yourself and be holy in your own little atmosphere. I need you to go out. I need you to go out into the sukkah. I need you to be pushing yourself, because your life is not just you. Your life is what you do for another yid. I just saw today the Rebbe was explaining why is he giving out dollars. He says because when two Jews meet, it's important that they think about doing something for a third Jew. I think that's the point. Sheva Brachos, the point of Sukkos is that our simcha in life and the tachlis, the point what we're building up to in life, is not to be holy and just sit around, but it's mamish to go out there and to make that third Jew, to create something new and pushing ourselves to do another level, a little bit deeper. Anyway, so this is the Shabbat Brachas Nigin, and if you know it, it's Reb Shlomo Karbach Nigin. So if you know it, please feel free to sing along. And Freilichen. One more time from the top. Everyone should be zeicha.
Okay, Shmuley. Let's finish off with Shmuley Marcus. And after Shmuley Marcus, Shmuley Marcus, another well-known singer. By the way, Zechariah is learning Smicha by us. Shmuley Marcus, as a youngster, was in my yeshiva. He has a nice Dvar Torah prepared there. And then we'll finish off with Moshe if you're ready. Shmuley, you got Shmuley Marcus? All right. Yeah.
Good morning. This is a very special Sukkos to be part of this Kinus Torah. Special thank you to Rabbi Wilhelm for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to share a little bit. I'd like to share a couple of interesting thoughts about Nagina, about Shira, that are found in Chassidus, different sources in Chassidus. Of course, the Alter Rebbe the Baal Shem Tov incorporated Nagina and Shira into Derech HaChassidus, one of the most important foundations in the Derech HaChassidus. I recently saw that until the time of the Baal Shem Tov, there was no such thing as dancing and simcha, in shuls or just on a regular proste mitvach. And Baal Shem Tov renewed this idea of bringing tremendous simcha into the lives of day-to-day lives of the Yidden. And music is really kind of like a master key. There's so many things, it's so multifaceted. All the different things that can be accomplished through Nagina. But just one idea that I'd like to focus on is the idea that Nagina, music, has the ability to be Megala, something which is below the surface, something which is Bepnimius, and try to bring out some different angles and different examples from different sources. We all know the famous saying of the Alter Rebbe that the Lashon is the Kulmas Halev and the Nigun is the Kulmas HaNefesh. Till recently, I did not know that there was a background story to it. And it comes from a Sikh of the Frierdiker Rebbe from Tavshin Beis, that just after the Alter Rebbe's marriage, when he moved to be by his shver in Vitebsk, the Alter Rebbe was already known as a great Talmid Chacham, and it was considered a big honor. It was a big kavod whenever the Alter Rebbe would attend any kind of event in the city. So once at a wedding, they were mechabed the Alter Rebbe to say something, adrasha, a pilpul, and the Alter Rebbe stood up and gave a very deep, incredible pilpul, and in his usual style of saying things very quickly, and the people were completely blown away by the depth and just the genius of the Alter Rebbe, and also at the speed. And the Alter Rebbe said, at that point, he said, "Haloshin ukul masalev." Afterwards, they asked the Alter Rebbe to sing something as well, and he sang a beautiful nigun with his sweet voice. And after he sang the nigun, he said that Haloshin ukul masalev, va'nigun ukul masanefesh. This is the background story to this saying, and the Frierdiker Rebbe points out that this is even before the Alter Rebbe had learned about the Teres Baal Shem Tov, before he had learned any chassidus, so to speak, that he had already intuitively felt the connection between Nagina and Primus Hazera. So, one of the Mamor Maksorim of the Alter Rebbe is an interesting mimer, where it talks about the mimer is about Umay Sa'ilam. And the Alter Rebbe is talking about the different types of nations. Yishmael, and you have Yavan, or later it's called Edom. That Yishmael comes from Chesed, because this is the son of Abraham Avinu, and Yavan is Yavan or Edom comes from Gevura, and we see that the music, that the nigunim of Yishmael are mirirus, very sad, and the nigunim of Esav are chedva. How each one likes the opposite of their teva, and that. So later the Tzemach Tzedek says in Tilim, explains at length exactly what that means, why the tainug of everybody enjoys different types of songs, sad songs, happy songs, more depressing, but there's a certain tainug to it. So this idea that you want the opposite of what you have, it's a little bit, there's something that you have the pneumius. It's not the way that you live, the way your usual disposition, but it's something that it's outside of you, it's a little bit beyond you, and therefore the tainug is specifically in that area. It's something that we have to uncover and bring out a little bit. So in the there's a mimer from the Tzemach Tzedek in Parshas Vayeshev, where he brings the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Ein oimrim shira ela ala yain." That in the Beis Hamikdash, the Levim only sing shira when there was wine, when there was nisach hayayin involved. Not to Tosfos says that there are of course other places where there was music, but the main idea, the rule was that only if there's nisach hayayin was there as part of the avodah was there shira. So inim shira el ala yain. What's the connection between shira and yain? So it says nichnas the yain yasasayid, that through yain we bring out what's there behelim, what's hidden beneath the surface. And yain brings to soid, which is, he says, which is avaraba, which is hidden within the nefesh. And through shir we're megala the avaraba. What exactly does that mean? So the Tzemach Tzedek says fascinating, very, very interesting idea here. That the Levim had to know exactly during the Avodah what style of music to play, what style of music is appropriate for this Avodah, for what's going on right now. Like it says by David HaMelech, that Yedei Nagin, he understood what's the right style, what's the right type of music. So within music, like we said, there's happier, and there's the simcha, and there's merirus, we'll call it. And the beauty of music is to blend the two things together, the two elements, the two emotions together, and through that brings a certain sweetness. And he mentions, of course, a koil poshut, just a one sound is not a tainug, like it says by Tkiyah Shofar, that there's no tainug. The shofar brings charada, it brings trepidation, trembling. It doesn't bring. It's not an enjoyable musical instrument. But with regards to the ava and the mixing ava and yira together, it says it brings in other places in Chassidus different types of shir pashut, a shir kafel, shir meshulash, depending on how many emotions are mixed in. So if there's just ava v'yira, it's a shir kafel, but it's ava v'yira and, like it says, rachmanis here, then it's a shir meshulash. But to know what type of nigun and what type of music is appropriate, like it says in Zohar, Parshas Vayechi, that simcha b'tzafra or rinana b'ramsha, that you have simcha in the morning, and in the evening you have rina. So rina is usually associated with givura or merirus. Yitzchak, Iraning, Yitzchak is givura. And the very, very interesting idea that the Tzemach Tzedek says that it's Efsher al derech zeh was the difference between the shira of the Talmud in the morning and the Talmud in the evening. That the style of music by the Korban Talmud in the morning was more of a simcha dikenigen, and the Korban Talmud in the afternoon was more of a merirus nigen. So this idea, what's the idea coming back to the opposites? The tainug is in the opposite. Specifically with regards to music. Music is one of the chachmas. It's a tremendous tainug, one of the more refined pleasures in the world. And as we know that tainug tmidi any tainug, something that you have all the time, something that you enjoy all the time, becomes you lose the enjoyment. So therefore, when you go to the opposite of your nature to get the tainuk, it's something new, you have an enjoyment in it. Like the Tzemach Tzedek says here in the Siddur, in the Tillim, excuse me, that there's somebody whose teva is simcha, likes nigunim v'merirus, and the opposite, as we find by Yishmael, that their music is the opposite of their teva.
Okay, Shmuley. Okay, Rabbi Say. Hey, Mati Grumman. I have Mati. Could they let you out of South Africa? We're having a big Chag Smicha Sunday. I always think maybe you would come next Sunday, a week from today. They'll let you out? Either you come to us, or you make me come to you. But you can't just forget about us. Anyways, Rabbi Sain, this was a wonderful program. I try to keep it to maximum an hour. I really think you guys should take advantage of trying to listen to Rabbi Garari's classes. It's very, very good. In general, everybody who spoke very nicely at the theme of simcha. And we want to keep this on every time there's a yontif. We'll take another theme and cover it. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And as you're parting with us, Moshe Label play us a nice little. Before we
I don't
go,
think he agrees with you.
anybody who is in town or close enough, next Sunday, we're having a Chag Smicha for about 10 to 12, 13 graduating students. And it's a whole fancy schmancy catered event in a ballroom in Crown Heights. You don't have to graduate to come. Come to see to participate and to learn from them. See where you could be not too long from now. It gives you a boost, and just to be amongst us again. Anybody could be at next Sunday. Please come. Yourself, your family. It's the middle of the day, so even if you're driving in, you could drive in and come back. And go back home that evening. But whoever comes enhances, as many more people come, enhances the event. And again,